Hey, dude, you ready to do a podcast this week?
Yeah, I'm ready. But before we get into the podcast, I think there's something that we have to make light of right now.
And what would that be?
The fact that I beat you finally in the predictions for Fighter Fest.
I mean, technically, sure.
What do you mean technically, bro? I'm better than you, and you know it.
Okay, I can see that you fail to remember that I got you to pick the Lucha Brothers. I called that whole spot. As well as me picking Orange Cassidy, I basically handed you the win. So don't be too high and mighty over there, bud.
Dude, you owe me props on this. I beat you fair and square.
All right, fair enough. I'll give you your props. Got you a little something. Here you go.
What the heck is this?
It's your championship belt.
Is this even real?
No, it's not. Not in the very least is that a real championship. Cue the intro.
The following presentation has been brought to you by HSF Productions.
The Impromptu Wrestling Podcast with your hosts, Jeff and David.
Hey guys, welcome back to IWP, the Impromptu Wrestling Podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Tally 006. Over to my left, as always, is my brother Damien. How are you doing this week?
Well, I'm doing pretty darn well. You know, coming off a huge win. Sweeping. Getting the shutout. No, not a shutout.
Not a shutout, but
going getting all the matches correct. That's,
yeah, you went.
I'm feeling pretty good about myself.
What was that? Six for six? Night two?
Yeah, there's six matches.
It's pretty good. It's a good thing I talked you into changing that one answer, but I mean, that's besides the point. That's besides the point. Congratulations. I mean, if I really want to go full heel here, it wasn't even a real pay-per-view. So, I mean, but we'll talk about that later.
Where we're going? Okay.
We also do have Fight for the Fallen. We could go 3 weeks in a row, but we'll talk about that later. We got some big matches coming up next week. We are going to be talking all about Night 2, Fyter Fest, giving our thoughts and opinions on how Night 2 went. We have a special Breaking Kayfabe where we're going to talk about the ratings war. What do they mean? What do we think they mean? You know, all that groovy stuff. As well as I want to quickly run through a special episode of Scoop of Vanilla. WWE say they don't counter book, but it seems every time AEW does a special Dynamite, NXT has something special to do as well. That being Great American Bash, again, a 2-week event, completely opposing Fyter Fest, but we'll get into all that, as well as don't forget BTE and AEW Dark as always. But first, let's start off. Let's just get right into the show here, and let's talk about Breaking Kayfabe here. So we kind of touched on this last week, although it didn't make the final cut of the episode. We kind of talked about how everybody has it in their mind that viewers, quantity of viewers, holds precedent over. I don't want to say quality of viewers, but that's kind of how the saying goes, right? But you know, as I mentioned last week, you know, Brian Alvarez, he tweets out the ratings every week, and you know, the last couple weeks, admittedly, NXT has had more viewers. I think just this past week for night 2 of their respective Dynamite and NXT. it was 795,000 for NXT and like 719,000 for AEW. But Chris Jericho and Tony Khan are very adamant about where their viewers sit compared to NXT. And it seems like the key demographic is the 18 to 49 year old totals, male and female. And AEW is crushing that demographic. Now, Jericho keeps popping up, as you can see the chart on the screen here. He keeps tweeting this out. And I mean, I got to agree with the guy. They have a very clear ranking of all the cable TV shows. Well, the top 50, I should say, for Wednesday night. It has all their time slots, and there's a rank 1 through 50. Okay? AEW is at number 7. NXT's at 24 this week. I think they're like 15 or 16 last week. So a lot bigger margin of victory this week. What are kind of your thoughts on this whole ratings war and how, to me, how the cable companies look at it is kind of what we should be looking at it, don't you think? To me, that ranking number means a lot more than the total viewers number. What are your thoughts on all this?
Yeah. Well, first off, I think I should say that this Wednesday Warriors, they're calling it, is an awesome thing for wrestling.
Oh, for sure.
And, wrestling used to be huge. It used to be talked about in, water coolers in every corner of every building. And in recent years, not as popular as it once had been. So now that we have this war and there's that many people watching wrestling, I think is a fantastic thing. I think the other thing we should remember here too is that like WWE is an established company, been around for many, many years. And AEW, it hasn't even been a year yet for Dynamite. So like even if AEW is lower in the like overall views, like to be that close, I think is a win since it just hasn't been out there enough for people to get onto it. So I think the demographic definitely matters, and the fact that AEW is above is good. But I think even in this, Brad Alonzo or whatever the heck his name is, in his stat, I think we're still winning, even though AEW's lower. The fact that it hasn't even been that long since they've been out and they're that close is a win in my books.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. NXT as new of a product as that is, it's still established. I mean, NXT as a brand really started back in like 2011 with the whole Nexus, the Tough Enough kind of programming that WWE was doing was branded as NXT. I believe it was always short for like next. You know what I mean? Just a cooler way of saying like these are the next guys, the Nexus and stuff like that. I think that's where the branding came from. And then once Triple H, basically says to Vince like, "Hey, can I take this over? Can I just do this little side project? We'll have this little building and we'll do our own thing. Once in a while, we'll put on a show." Eventually it grew, what was it? 2014, 2015, you got the Seth Rollins, the Kevin Owenses, the Roman Reigns, the Dean Ambroses, they really made that into its own show. And then we were getting weekly shows eventually from NXT and stuff like that. Like this is an established brand already. Like if you really want to give it a number, I mean, it's been 5 years that we've been watching NXT. We've been watching AEW for AEW Dynamite for not even a year. It's only been like 8 months. 9 months. People who celebrated that first episode of Dynamite aren't even having babies yet. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so Brad Alonso needs to pump the brakes. The numbers don't mean what they're saying. And for me, the only number that really matters is that number to the left, that ranking number. AEW's number 7, NXT's 24. I don't care who's watching it. That's the number that matters. And when you really break down, like, I still don't know. I've been looking at this chart for hours now, and I still don't really get what all the numbers mean, the percentages and everything like that. But it looks like the 18 to 49s and even the 18 to 34 males seem to be the highest numbers for AEW. And the highest numbers for NXT is 50 plus, which I think is interesting. So, I mean, just the, people set in their ways, brand loyalty, I guess, is what that answer is. But, I mean, it all comes down to the ranking.
Another interesting point here is that NXT is the best part of Vanilla right now.
That's true.
And AEW, again, depending on which numbers you want to go by, we're either beating it or we're right behind it. And it's their best stuff. It's the best stuff they can put out right now. Yeah. I don't know why I keep saying we, like I am part owner or something like that.
I mean, we did pledge kind of our allegiance to AEW, way back when. That's really all we really talk about. I mean, we call it a scoop of vanilla, for fuck's sakes. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, But yeah, I totally agree with that statement. You can argue Raw and SmackDown are still pulling in 2.x million viewers, where NXT and AEW are only pulling in 700,000. But again, established products. Raw's been on the air since 1993. Hasn't missed an episode. SmackDown's been on since like 98.
Are those worldwide though?
No, this is all North America. Actually, I think this is only America. I don't even think Canada counts in these numbers, which I've heard.
So this raw number you're talking about, sorry to cut you off there, like 2 million, that's only in America?
I believe so.
Okay.
And like
that's great.
And like I said, this 795,000 to 720,000 number that's past week that Brad Alonso gave us, I don't think that includes Canada either. And I would be interested to know what the numbers are including Canada, because we know that Canada is very well represented in AEW. And I think if you polled Canadians across the board about which brand they would be enjoying the most, it would be AEW. I've heard Jericho say on can't remember if he did like Jay and Dan. Mind you, this is on TSN, which is what shows AEW up here in Canada. Maybe he's just greasing the wheels, but he's talked about how awesome the TSN ratings have been, compared to the Sportsnet ratings for NXT. So maybe that's something we can look into and kind of compare numbers. Maybe we can combine them to get a true number of really who's watching what. Because I think Canada is by far pro AEW. But yeah, interesting topic. I want to dive into this more maybe at another time. But let's move on to a scoop of vanilla. As I mentioned earlier, NXT Triple H claims he's not counter booking. He's gone on record and saying that this was the way it was going. It's the way the booking was going. Between WrestleMania and SummerSlam takeovers, you have to have somewhere in the middle, and this is the middle, I think is how he put it. So we were headed here anyways. It's just a coincidence that AEW is doing this Fyter Fest thing. But we're doing Great America Bash. Except for Fyter Fest had been planned and being promoted, since WrestleMania, basically, like the Double or Nothing. Basically is at the end of Double or Nothing. So a month and a half of booking and promoting NXT Great American Bash, maybe 2 weeks. before the show they started advertising this. So AEW definitely had the jump on them. I try to take what Triple H says with a grain of salt. I think he's just saying that for, image reasons, but definitely some counter booking going on here. But I'm just going to quickly go through the card again, just like the last takeover that we covered. I didn't really watch this. So I don't know, but I'll go through the matches really quick. We had Tegan Knox. Good to see her back in the ring. I think I said that last time. She suffered those knee injuries. She defeats Candice LeRae, Dakota Kai, and Mia Yim in a fatal 4-way elimination match to determine number 1 contender for the NXT Women's Championship. Timothy Thatcher, never heard of you, bud, defeated Oni Lorcan by submission in a singles match. Rhea Ripley defeated Aaliyah. Sorry, I had to read that twice. Rhea Ripley defeats Aaliyah with Robert Stone by submission. Apparently, this was a handicap mixed gender match. A stipulation being that if Ripley lost, she would have to join the Robert Stone brand, which sounds kind of like a Paul Heyman type character kind of situation. Not too sure though. Dexter Lumis defeats Roderick Strong in a strap match. That might be worth watching. Io Shirai defeated Sasha Banks. I believe that was an AEW or an NXT Women's Championship match, I believe. Wow. So yeah, big there. That was night 1 of Great American Bash. Going into night 2, Tony Nese defeated Leon Ruff. Candice LeRae defeats Mia Yim in a street fight. Sounds like that may have got booked from results or what happened in that the fatal 4-way match on night 1. Bronson Reed defeated Tony Nese. Tony Nese wrestled twice?
Fought twice, wow.
I'm just going by what was on Wikipedia, so... Johnny Gargano defeats Isaiah Swerve Scott in a singles match. Good to see Gargano win a match. Legado del Fantasma, which seems to be a group. Santos Escobar, Joaquin Wilde, and Raul. We miss you, Doc. Raul Mendoza defeated Drake Maverick, Brazango, which is Tyler Breeze and Fandango, of course, in a 6-man tag. Mercedes Martinez makes her NXT return. She was involved with AEW there for a little while, was doing kind of the battle royals and kind of multi-woman matches for a while, but was never signed. It looks like she's back with NXT for the time being. She defeated Santana Garrett in a singles match. And then the big news, which I think we'll spend a little bit of time talking about here, is Keith Lee, the NXT North American champion, defeats Adam Cole, the NXT champion, in a winner-take-all, basically winner gets both belts. So Keith Lee winning the NXT championship. I want to go back and I want to watch this match. I just think it'd be good. It's Adam Cole.
We always say this, that we should do like a
watch
along. We should record ourselves doing a reaction. We really should do with this one. Yeah, two huge nights. Weird that we have like a former DRCSS coach fighting in NXT.
Who is this?
Timothy Thatcher.
What? Really? It was Thatcher. But yeah, that's funny.
The Robert Stone band, that sounds like a Canadian rock group or something.
Right? They're opening up for Kim Mitchell next week.
So yeah, this main event, this is huge. If anything was going to beat AEW, it would be this match, I think.
Yeah, and for sure. And it should be mentioned that the ending to this match was leaked. Again, all these shows are being pre-taped preemptively because of the whole COVID situation and whatnot. But this match was leaked. One of the wrestlers who was ringside, being a supporter, one of the fake fans, if you will, snapped a picture of Keith Lee with both belts, confetti flying down, and posted it on Twitter. And it's just like, they're fired, obviously, for one. But, you know, NXT does some damage control and starts talking about how they filmed 2 endings. We don't know which ending's gonna be showing. You'll have to tune in. You know, good on them for trying to create some buzz after things kind of get spoiled here. But not to take anything away from Keith Lee. I think he deserves it. He's one of the bigger names coming out of NXT. I'm surprised he's not already on the main roster, to be honest. I'm a little bit surprised that he beats Adam Cole for that reason. It would have been a good way just to bring him up to the main roster. But yeah, congratulations. But I just think it's kind of, I don't know, it was kind of almost lackluster because of this leak and whatnot.
Right. Do we know who the wrestler was that posted it?
I have no idea. I don't think, I think the name is being protected or something like that. But yeah, I'm not sure. But anyways,
Crazy.
Adam Cole's 400-day reign as NXT champion. It's the longest in NXT history. I want to say like Shinsuke might have had that record before. Not quite to where Asuka's championship reign got to, but definitely a record that'll probably be held for a little while, at least 400 days. That's over a year without losing a match. And the caliber of matches that Adam Cole was having, you know, Tommaso Ciampa, a few with Johnny Gargano, like the Velveteen Dream matches were great. Like Adam Cole is a superstar. A superstar. Yeah. By every definition of that word, he is a superstar.
Wait. Would you say that he's all elite?
Well, let's talk about that because his contract is up soon. I think at like August. You know, he hasn't re-signed. Britt says she wants to work with her husband. They've never worked together. He's part of the Super Click party with the Young Bucks. Like there's so many connections.
There's a built-in story of him coming back from the dead, and
yeah. Oh, could you imagine the Being the Elite episodes that would come out of this? If I had to put my money on it, I would probably say he stays in NXT, maybe for another little while. Maybe he signs like another 1 year or 2 year. But I don't know if WWE would really want to do these kind of bridge deals. I think they're trying to lock everybody up for really long term. But
yeah, and I mean they're gonna give him the money.
Oh yeah,
that he probably can't turn down, right?
Yeah.
And I mean I don't know him, but just based on the things that I've seen of him, he seems like a guy who would have the loyalty,
right,
to say like, you know what, you gave me my chance, you gave me the belt, you gave me one of the best factions.
Oh fuck yeah, for sure.
Time. So yeah, I could see him staying too.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I won't be mad if we see him show up on Dynamite in a couple months. That'd be amazing. It's hard to say if he would be as big of a star compared to staying in NXT. It's kind of the big fish in a little pond, or little fish. Yeah, you know what I'm trying to say there. But I think he's a bigger fish in NXT than he would be in AEW. He would have to rebuild his brand. 100% capable of doing that, but it will take time. Where he's kind of already established in NXT, so it'll be interesting to see. I've seen a lot of images on Instagram and stuff like that. It's he is all elite. # all elite. It's already all elite confirmed. AEW confirmed. Adam Cole. His contract's up and he dropped the belt. He's doing business the right way. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. It's exciting stuff for sure. But yeah, definitely want to watch that Keith Lee Adam Cole match. If you guys want to see us react to it, and we'll put it up on the channel, leave it in the comments below, and we will be sure to do that. But let's keep the show rolling. Let's get into Being the Elite, episode 211. Have a good summer. What did you think of this episode? This was good.
Yeah, like it's been kind of sucky there. Last week's was okay, and this was more back to what we're used to. There is some things we've seen before, but I think, the Bucks watch the show and they're like, "Hey, we need to do something just a little bit different to keep it going." So I thought they did that really well.
Yeah.
What were your favorite parts of the episode?
The cold open. Let's just start with that, because I think I mentioned it on last week's episode, how I just loved how he's talking to Evil Uno on the phone and he makes him hit himself with a piece of paper. Well, this week we get to see that, and he's like, "Yeah, okay, boss, I'll do it. Thank you, Mr. Brody." And then he just holds up this stack of paper. Like, it's just so good.
Yeah,
I loved it. The callback to Chili's. They were at the airport. There just happened to be a Chili's. You have to think that was impromptu little bit. They're like, "Holy shit, there's a Chili's here. Let's just like pretend like we're super craving it because of what happened last week." And then, oh shit, it's closed. That was great.
Absolutely.
That was great. Probably the highlight of the episode though was the tag team quiz with Brandon Cutler and Peter Avalon. Like, when you think about tag team cliches, they nailed it.
Yeah.
With their answers. Like, yeah, I can just picture Jim the Anvil Neidhart running back and forth between the aprons, getting Brett, pumped up for the hot tag, and then he comes in and gives the clotheslines and stuff like that. Like, they're called cliches for a reason, and they freaking nailed it. What did you think of the episode?
So I thought it was great. Like I mentioned last week, I'm really liking the Dark Order stuff with Long John Silver and his buddy there.
Mm-hmm.
The Orange Cassidy, and he's pushing the cup, and
Mm-hmm.
don't do it, and I like he comes up with sticky feet. I don't like to have sticky feet.
You make that sound all day.
Yeah. Like, to me, that wasn't planned. He came up with that in the moment, and it was very, very good. So, although he seems like he's always like on the brink of just busting out laughing while he's doing it, he's keeping it together. And I'm really enjoying what those guys are doing right now. So I really hope they keep Dark Order in there.
Yeah, I liked them this week more than I did last week. I'm like, I kind of gave them their props. Yeah, they were funny, but I mean, they need to do some work. But this week, in the two bits that they were in, they did the psychic bit and then the Orange Cassidy bit. Like, yeah, these guys are actually pretty funny. And I mean, we were talking off air there about Alex Riley or whatever the hell his name is, and how straight he plays it. Like, it's almost he's so bad at acting that it comes off really good. Like, he's just so stone-faced. It's just like the purest acting, but it works because the other guy is so exuberant about everything. So yeah, those guys are definitely killing it. Another kind of highlight of the episode was the I'm forgetting what it was here. The Kenny Omega, the Colt Cabana bit is you see Kenny and he's kind of like playing with a broom, and then Colt's like, "Well, I'm gonna go bug Kenny," and the Bucks like stop him. They're like, "Dude, you do not want to bug Kenny right now. He's reverting back to that place." And Colt, "What are you talking about?" And then they start describing the Cleaner, and the Cleaner was a new member of the Bullet Club. The Bullet Club was supposed to be this gang, and the Cleaner was the guy who, was the assassin basically, right? And he cleaned up the jobs basically. But Kenny, being from Winnipeg and a goofball, took that as I'm going to take this literally. They want me to be the cleaner, so he would come out with the brooms and stuff like that, and whatnot. But the line that got me cracking and is just Matt just going real serious is like, I saw him wearing aviators.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, because Kenny hasn't really worn the aviators since being in AEW. It's almost like he's totally left that character behind in Japan, kind of thing, which is good in its own way. But I even saw him wearing aviators. Fuck, I loved it. This was such a good episode.
Yeah. I think the last thing to mention is we have a new member of the Dark Order.
Who's this?
Trent's mom.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot
that
about
was
that.
Hilarious. That one, that she'd even do it, and two, I thought she was great. Like,
Yeah,
she's like, "Hey guys, I got the Kool-Aid."
yeah.
Like, yeah, it was so awesome.
Hey, honey, what's going on? Mom, what are you doing? He rips the mask off of her. You coming after my mom? Yeah, that was
That's
good.
awesome.
Yeah, good stuff. Anna Jay has some competition in Dark Order with
That's right.
Trent's mom. But yeah, great episode of Being the Elite. I suggest y'all check it out. Being the Elite on YouTube. Check it out. Okay, let's keep rolling along here with AEW Dark, episode 41. What did we have?
We had 8 matches. It was a pretty big show. It was a good show. I enjoyed Dark this week. In the first match, we had Brian Pillman Jr. Facing off against Sean Spears, and Sean Spears winning this one. So building up his character there. What did you think of Brian Pillman Jr.?
So they made the claim. I mean, technically, yes, it is his AEW debut, but we have seen Brian Pillman before in the Casino Battle Royals. He was there at All Out when Jericho wins the championship, and Jericho did the whole backstage thing, like asking for his congratulations from everybody. He even comments to Brian Pillman, tell him to get a haircut, because he's the only person in 2020 still wearing a mullet, which I love. But you take from like that time, the last time we saw Brian Pillman, to now, like, this kid's putting on mass. He's jacked, man, and he's looking good, and he's an amazing wrestler. For only being, as they mentioned on commentary, like 2.5 years he's been in the business. I think he was on Talk Is Jericho, where they talked about his dad, Flying Brian Pillman. And yeah, he was like 6 months out of wrestling school. So it's only been like 1.5 years since then. And I mean, this kid if he keeps the pace that he's going, he's going to be his dad and more. And his dad was a great wrestler too. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Just
exciting.
naturally.
Yeah, exciting stuff from Brian Pillman. I really hope we see that hashtag All Elite on him very, very soon.
Yeah.
I think he can be one of those homegrown guys for AEW, like Jungle Boy, like MJF. Like, these are going to be the guys 5-6 years down the road when Jericho hangs up the boots and whatnot. These are the guys we're going to be talking about week after week,
right.
So yeah, exciting stuff. Tony, sign Brian Pillman. Meow.
Sign him. Make them all elite.
Meow.
In the match number 2, we had Big Swole defeating Rache Chanel.
Wow, you said
And
that pretty good.
This is the debut of I practiced.
Yeah, definitely her debut.
Yeah, that was a pretty good match. After this match, we had an interview with Allie and Brandy. I can't even remember what they were talking about. I was just mesmerized by Allie and Brandy on the screen at the same time. But what I thought was interesting about this interview is Dustin comes out and it basically calls Allie out and does the prediction that you said like 3-4 weeks ago.
Oh, is that a bonus point? Are we tied now? No, I'm kidding. But yeah.
So Dustin says, hey, you're gonna come out and you're gonna low blow him, and then you're gonna
break his heart.
Yeah, did he say blow her? Low blow?
You're gonna kick him
I
in the
can't remember.
balls. You're gonna kick him in the balls and break his heart, I think is what he said. But yeah, and the interview was just going like, hey, you guys have kind of had your differences, but you're on this winning streak. Where do the Nightmare Sisters stand? And Brandy, being the face, is kind of like, we've had our troubles, but, we're working through it. I want to stay a team. We do, we have our problems, but we work well together. And Allie was being the heel and saying, yeah, she can't really do it without me. I'm the one doing all the work. And then they have a little argument. And then that's when Dustin comes in and calls out what's going to happen. But it's all just continuing the story. We don't have QT Marshall available to help continue this story, so they do have to do something. I think they're doing a good job kind of keeping that story relevant for now until he can come back. So it had its spot. Could have been
I like that.
Could have been performed a little bit better, but I mean, that's nitpicking.
Yeah. In match number 3, we had Frankie Kazarian defeating Luther. So we get to see Luther again after a couple of weeks. So that was a good match. In the next match, we had an 8-man tag where the Butcher and the Blade and the Lucha Brothers doing a little bit of warm-up for their Fyter Fest match against Tony Donato, Fabu Andre, Joe Alonzo, and Brady Pierce. So Butcher and the Blade and Lucha Brothers winning in that one. We have Orange Cassidy defeating Will Hobbs in the next match. Michael Nakazawa, we get to see him again against Sean Dean. Michael Nakazawa getting a win in that one. Scorpio Sky over Serpentico. And in the main event, we had, I don't know if these guys are even a tag or not a tag, but Cutler and Avalon going up against Dark Order, Grayson, and Uno. And Dark Order going over in that one. So the boys still without a win.
Yeah. They've been talking on Twitter. I've seen that Cutler has kind of put it out to his Twitterverse. Should we just give ourselves a tag team name now? Again, this match was building upon what happened in the Young Bucks match, where Avalon and Cutler are working together and they're getting moves off and whatnot. I think this match told a cool story and how Uno offered them a spot in Dark Order if they would just lay down and take the pin. Like how Avalon, like, yeah, sure, I'll do it, and then rolls them up for the small package, like right off the bat. It was a good match, but I think they have to. They just gotta. We're a tag team now, and let that build the story for another month or so. And
I think the fans want it. And I mean, I want it. Yeah, for sure. They're good together.
Yeah, for sure. The only other thing I really wanted to mention about Dark was, I mean, we'll talk about it a little later, but how was the Butcher and the Blade and the Lucha Brothers 8-man tag match against Donato, Andre, Alonzo, and Pierce better than their 8-man tag with FTR and the Young Bucks? Like, this was a good match, the 8-man tag match.
Well, yeah. Because I think the focus is on them,
right?
The 4 of them, whereas in the Fyter Fest match, there's 8 people that need to have focus, right?
No, that's totally it. But
that's a good way to put it, though. I like it.
But yeah, it was a good episode of Dark. Definitely check it out. Lots of great matches. Let's move on to this week's Power Rankings, July 8th, 2020. Did we have any changes this week?
We did have some, but what's interesting is I actually went to look at the rankings like about 15 minutes before Fyter Fest or Dynamite was going to happen, and they weren't out. So I only got these today. In the men's division, we had no changes from last week. So we still have our two champions, MJF, the number one contender, followed by Brian Cage, Lance Archer, Brody Lee, and Chris Jericho. And all of those, you could say, besides Chris Jericho, make pretty much good sense.
Right.
In the women's division, we have our champion still, Shida. Nyla Rose, our number one contender. Big Swole up to the number 2 position, which brings Penelope Ford back down to the number 3 position. Chris Statlander still in the top 5, and rounding out the top 5 is Britt Baker. Not good records there, eh? 4-4, 4-4, 4-4. In the tag team division, we still have our champs, Kenny Omega and Adam Page. Dark Order, now the number 1 contenders. Best Friends fall to number 2. Private Party up 2 positions to number 3. The Young Bucks fall to number 4. And rounding out the top 5 is the Jurassic Express. So the Natural Nightmares no longer in the top 5. And I have to think that has a lot to do with QT Marshall not being able to be around right now.
Right.
So there's the rankings for July 8th.
Sweet. All right, well, let's get right into AEW Fyter Fest Night 2. This was Wednesday, July 8th, 2020, live from Daly's Place in Jacksonville, Florida. And we start off with the replacement match that was announced last week. It's going to be the champions, Paige and Omega, versus Private Party after they won their match last week in Night 1. What did you think of this match?
I thought it was a pretty good match, actually. I feel like in the Private Party matches we've had before this episode, it's kind of a, good moments and then some a little bit botchy moments and whatnot. I thought Private Party was on point in this one. Everything seemed to really work out. I think for me, just there wasn't anything sort of spectacular, and we really knew that the titles weren't going to change here. So it wasn't keeping me, with the false finishes. I'm like, oh my God, like, is Private Party going to do it? I don't know. What'd you think?
I thought it was a really solid match. I'm not going to say it was great. I'm not going to say it was bad, but it was really, really solid for a tag team match. And I mean, we've seen these 4 work together before. They had a match early on in the year on a Dynamite, which was great. Yeah, definitely with it being a replacement match, kind of a last minute, like, hey, let's just make these stipulations for these 2 matches, and then we'll have the winner take all on the next week, because since we don't have our AEW championship match. So it was really hard for me to believe that they were ever going to drop the titles. But I mean, you've mentioned in the past, like, it's time for one of these swerves. I mean, this could have been it, but evidently it wasn't. Just a really solid match. Paige and Omega bringing back the last call, which we didn't get to see last week against Best Friends. So I thought that was cool. Again, keeping that move strong, getting the 1, 2, 3. I feel like I want Matt Hardy to be involved more with their matches. Like, he's out there, but I'm kind of on the fence. It's good that he's not being involved, because then it's all about Private Party. He's not trying to get himself over. Maybe something Michael Hayes might have did for the Hardy Boys back in the day. He always had that cane that he would get involved with. They were kind of heel characters at that time. But I don't know. I kind of want him to get involved a little bit more, even if it's just a distraction. Or even if it's just jumping up on the apron and giving them a little pep talk in the corner after they've taken a couple of bumps, just to regroup them. Just something. But
yeah, it's a good point. Yeah. And I mean, what really drives this point is, you know what? I even forgot Matt Hardy was there. Like, I can't even remember him
exactly.
being there, so
yeah, he was kind of in the near corner to the hard camera. So when they're zoomed in, he really wasn't on camera. It's not like when Jake is like standing in the background during the Lance Archer match, which we'll talk about in a second. So yeah, I think he's just letting his name value be associated with Private Party, but letting Private Party do their stuff kind of thing. But it is what it is. I think he needs to just get involved a little bit more. If you're going to be a manager.
Yeah. If you had to rate their match the last week to this one, which one do you think would be better?
This match was better, probably. This match was better than Private Party's night one match, but I think the match with Best Friends is probably better than this one. But Private Party definitely did better in this match than they did last week. You?
I kind of think that they worked better with Proud and Powerful. I don't know. Maybe I have to watch them back to back.
Yeah. The Proud and Powerful one kind of got off the rails a little bit, if I remember correctly. But
yeah, but they seem to gel more. I think the stuff that went off the rails where they were a little bit too hyped, like It was almost going too well.
Yeah,
and yeah, but yeah, interesting, good match.
Good match. Yeah.
All right, next one.
Let's move on to the Bad Boy Joey Janela versus the Murder Hawk Lance Archer with Jake Roberts. And Jake brought the bag out, but it never did get involved, which I liked. You mentioned while we were watching, you texted me, he's like, oh, Jake having the bag out there kind of gives away the ending a little bit, but then the bag never came into play. So I like that. Like, they need to start bringing it out all the time, and then we don't know when it'll actually happen. And then it's a surprise, right? So yeah. I liked it that it was there, but nothing happened. I wonder, do you think this is going to be Lance's gimmick? Is he going to kind of become Jake the Snake and carry around this burlap bag with a boa constrictor in it? Like, do you I feel like it would fit, but I don't know that he'd want to inherit that gimmick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I feel like if we talk a little bit about the match here, Jake does a bit of an interrupt and then ends up backfiring on him.
Yeah.
As Sonny Kiss gets a splash on him, and I think Joey got something on him as well. And then he went and kind of barked at Jake like, what are you doing, buddy?
Right.
I could really see that Lance Archer leaves Jake and Jake goes and finds somebody else.
Okay.
So I think I agree with you in that I don't think Lance will take this over. He has his own gimmick, and I don't feel like he could pull this off.
Right.
He's the psycho crazy guy, whereas if we think about Jake the Snake, like he was slow,
cool,
reserved,
calm, and collected.
Yeah, like he was a snake, right? Like he just kind of slithered to the ring, and that's not Lance Archer.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
Could it be Joey Janela? I think it could be Joey Janela.
Interesting. As for the match itself, I like how they played it out. It was a little, I felt like they were lost at times, but they always kind of got it back under control and whatnot. There was a moment where Joey brings the table out and sets it up outside, and there was a moment where you see that Lance is like, oh yeah, there's this table out here. Are we doing anything through this? They're both kind of in the corner, and it looked like they were having a conversation. And Joey kind of almost had to go, yeah, you're going to black out me through the table. Oh, yeah. So then he climbs back out of the fucking ring. Like, there was a little bit of a miscommunication there. I really think somebody forgot the table was out there.
Well, I'm sure it's Lance, because has he even had a match go this long?
No, yeah, that's well, Cody maybe, but yeah.
Yeah.
There was definitely some moments of where are we going with this, but the match played out well.
Yeah, I didn't notice that. So they must have hit it well, at least from me. I'm just glad this wasn't a squash match because I really don't feel Joey deserves that. And I like how very subtly Joey comes out and he's looking behind him and you're wondering why. And it's like, hey, where's Sonny? And then
Right.
Lance is bringing him out. So, yeah, probably some drinking going on in the back, but they got it figured out and it wasn't a bad match.
If I had to critique something really hard is the fact that Lance comes out with Sunny Kiss, gives him the slam on the rampway, beats him up a little bit, and then the match starts. Sunny Kiss is on ringside cheering him on, like it's like nothing happened. I think Sunny needs to sell that for a lot longer almost until the spot where he needs to come up and do the 450 splash. If he sold that for that long, it would have made that splash moment way bigger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think he was kind of holding his back a little bit, but yeah, you're right. He wasn't. You know what I think is also odd is it really, and correct me if I'm wrong here, like they filmed all these matches on the one night.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So these guys had their moment outside of the ring probably earlier on in the night and then ended up having to like kind of do this. I think that would be weird. I feel like that'd be weird as a wrestler to...
I think it would be weirder with the crowd there. And the crowd knows that you were just out there and you did this thing, and then it's like 2 hours later you're having this match. I think that would feel more weird as a wrestler. But, I mean, you have the advantage of not having a crowd and everybody's in on it. You know, so there's no need to feel weird in that moment. But
yeah.
I don't know. I'm not a wrestler. But, yeah. Lance Archer wins this match with the blackout through the table. It was a big move. Gave him the claw on the table a couple times before he brings him in and pins him. It was a decent match. It wasn't either of their best work, but it was entertaining to watch nonetheless.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Right after this, we got another video installment, a promo from Darby Allin. We've seen in the past him hanging out with Tony Hawk, which I mentioned. It's cool that celebrities are starting to make their way into AEW. You know, we had Tony Hawk, as I said. We've had everybody involved in the Manitoba Melee. The Bubbly Bunch bits. Kevin Smith's been ringside. Stephen Amell has been a part of those kind of video packages. A lot of UFC fighters have been a part of like predictions, with the Moxley Hager match. And this week we get another one. We get a new one in Travis Pastrana. Like, that's pretty cool. So I'm liking that AEW is doing their best to bring in celebrities, which brings in new fans. I think it's smart. What did you think of the video promo from Darby?
I think just like last week, it's not his best stuff. But I think if I was Cody, like, you have to keep this guy relevant. We're talking about him right now, so he's staying in the conversation, and they got to do that. And I feel like we've seen this footage before. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like, this is not something new. Like, they didn't just do this the day before. This whole Darby dropping into the foam, I feel like we've seen that footage before.
I don't remember. But now that you're saying that, I kind of feel like it.
I can't remember exactly where, but this didn't feel new to me. Okay. But it might be something that he's done before, like these drops. so it could have maybe just looked similar. I don't remember Pastrana ever being in any of them, so
Yeah.
who knows?
Interesting.
But, yeah, I guess what did we really get out of this? That he's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, not that crazy. I would coffin drop into a foam pit. I thought he was gonna go. They were gonna have some tables stacked up. He was gonna go through some tables. It's
20 tables.
Well, it's not. It's not until. It's not until he actually drops off, and there's like a drone angle that you see how high they actually had him. But I mean, yeah, it's not out of the realm that he's 20 feet in the air and goes through some tables. Like, we've seen that before. You know what I mean? So, like, that's kind of what I was picturing. And then, yeah, all of a sudden he's 80 feet in the air and a cherry picker and yeah, it goes into the foam pit. But, I mean, I would do that. Come on. Give me a call, Pastrana. I'll do it. Yeah, good stuff, though. Darby Allin staying in the conversation for sure. We get another promo. Tony Schiavone in the ring, and he calls out Taz and Brian Cage. We heard earlier in the night that Taz had this announcement. A lot of people were thinking that there was going to be some kind of stipulation added to the match next week at Fight for the Fallen. However, we probably get the most ridiculous announcement I've ever heard on wrestling.
This is the swerve we were talking about.
I guess so. I mean, credit to Taz. He makes it feel important. He's got the passion behind it. I built this with my blood, sweat, and my tears. And then he unveils the FTW championship. This isn't real. Right? Like, I'm not about this. I'm not about this at all. And he talks like we should know what this is.
Yeah. So we don't know what this is. You've never seen it before? Like,
I've never seen it before.
Either of us is going to know this, it would be you. And you've never seen it.
I've never seen this before.
I feel like there was a tinge of Brian Cage wasn't loving this.
I think he's with me and he thinks that this is stupid. It's not real. It doesn't mean anything. And it's going to make it even worse when he loses next week to Moxley.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
I don't know.
This is you know what this is? You know what the FTW championship is? It's the Internet Championship. Zack Ryder's Internet Championship. This is exactly what it is. Oh, you're not going to give me a championship? I'm going to make my own.
Right.
That's
because it even says Taz on it. Like, it says Taz on the belt.
It also says "Bring It," which I'm pretty sure is gimmick infringement. The Rock's gonna get $12 every time this title comes on TV. The Rock #AEW confirmed? No. But
yeah, I don't know what to think about this one. The Unrestricted podcast, the official podcast of AEW. If you don't listen to it, watch it, go check it out. The latest episode was with Brian Cage, and in this episode, Brian, they ask him a question like, "What do you think about working with Taz?" And he had nothing but really genuinely nice things to say about Taz. I just felt like in that moment, I feel like Brian wasn't into it.
I agree.
He's going along with it, obviously. But I didn't feel like he was in it. So I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what comes of it. I don't know if we're doing predictions for next week, but I feel like with this kind of tells me now that there's not going to be a winner next week. Right? Because you can't have the FTW champion losing.
Right.
That's just dumb. Like you just said it, right? So this has to be some kind of DQ or something.
And they both go their own ways with their own belts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. All right, well, enough of that malarkey.
And it's my championship, by the way. So screw you, Brian Cage.
I told you it wasn't real. Let's move on to the next matchup of the night. Talked a little bit quickly about this during the Dark match, but it was FTR and the Young Bucks 8-man tag match against the Lucha Brothers and Butcher and the Blade. This match did not start off good at all. This match was very, very hard to watch. Nobody was clicking for the first 8 minutes of this match until that first commercial break. Like nothing was clicking.
Yeah. We don't like 8-mans to begin with.
Right.
And then like at one point my eyes were just bugging out because I didn't know what to focus on. Stuff's happening over here. Stuff's happening over here. Yeah. I was a bit disappointed.
I mean, I get that they were really trying to tell the story of FTR and the Young Bucks. Are they going to work together? Are they not going to work together? And I mean, admittedly, they did do a good job of portraying that. There was some times where, you got 3 people to tag and you tag the other guy. You know what I mean? Like there's a time where Dax tags in Matt, and then Matt tags in Cash, and then Cash tags in Nick. Like they built that story, and then it's like once the match started flowing and everybody was kind of really getting into their groove, and then the spots were happening one after another, then you see, yeah, we got this, and then the tags were more deliberate, and yeah, we're working together. Yeah, we're working together, and it was at that moment. I'm going to say it's about 3/4 of the way through the match where FTR and the Young Bucks really start clicking and they're really rolling. I'm like, I just lost this match. What I talked about in the prediction show is going to come true. This whole thing is going to be about them losing this match, which will lead into the build of their dream match. But, I mean, second half of this match was a lot better than the first. That's really all I can say about it.
Yeah.
Some crazy spots in this match, though.
I agree with you. I see what the story they were trying to tell. And I think in that beginning where they're having this difficulty working together, the guys on the other corner of the ring need to be working exceptionally well together. Like there needs to be that contrast. And I don't know that there was that. Like they were bad together, but the Lucha Brothers were kind of doing their own thing, and Butcher and the Blade were kind of doing their own thing. Like they weren't working as a cohesive unit. So I don't think it really told that story well enough.
Right. A couple of the early tags were deliberate and to the point where there wasn't the indecision, I guess you could argue. But yeah, definitely wasn't to the level where it really contrasted what was going on in the Young Bucks FTR corner. I agree with what you're saying there.
Yeah, because like you had times where, it was, Matt and Dax were working together. Nick and Cash were working together. Like it was very much they were working together, where just a straight tag in and out, like they weren't working as a tag team. But I don't know. What did you think about this Canadian destroyer over the top rope?
It's pretty wild. I mean, I've never seen that before. I think they executed it well. It was very, very smooth. Obviously nobody got hurt. Like everybody landed really well. So, I mean, it was cool. That's all I got to say. It was cool. It was a cool spot. I've never seen it before.
I feel like Excalibur was really genuine in like his reaction to it. He's like, "Oh my god, like I've never seen that ever happen before." And
I mean, they got to build on something, because if you look back at the Young Bucks, Lucha Brothers ladder match there at All Out, there was the big Canadian Destroyer through the ladder to the outside off the top rope. Like, that was a big spot. That was a huge spot. So you got to up it, but not up the danger at the same time. So yeah, Nick, you're kind of straddling on the second rope, ready to do your moonsault. And then all of a sudden Phoenix comes out of nowhere and jumps off Lucha Pentagon's back, and you go right into this destroyer. Like, that was all on Nick, really. It was all about Phoenix just getting in position, because Nick's the one who had to do the backflip. And like, you could argue, that the setup's not clean. You know, Nick was kind of standing there waiting, but I mean, when you're doing something like this, you got to make sure everything's set up properly. But I think it came off really smooth, really, really smooth. It was a cool spot. It was a cool spot.
And there's not a lot of margin for error, because that guardrail is right there.
Right.
And Nick actually hits it, not flush, but he goes into it. But
we've seen wrestlers heal themselves on the guardrail before. Like Pac and Kenny Omega. Do you remember that match? And Pac does like his like dragon screw over the top rope to the outside, and like I thought his leg broke on the edge of that guardrail. He hit that so hard. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of danger there, but it was a good match.
Not the match we thought it was gonna be, but
yeah, definitely.
I mean, we get what we thought we would get, and that is there's some friction between FTR and the Young Bucks. You know, Matt super kicks.
Yeah, the exclamation
Can't remember
point.
which one.
The exclamation point being Dax, super kicking Dax, as it was Phoenix or Pentagon just gets out of the way at the last second, and the kick heard around the world. But it was fine.
No one remembers Baggio now.
Can't believe you'd bring that up.
I know. Too soon.
It's been 26 years, but it's still too soon.
It's still too soon.
Let's move on. We got another just little segment, classic Dynamite segment. Big Swole's entering the arena, and Alex Marvez is there waiting, and you know, she gets served with papers basically stating that she's barred from the arena and that she was going to be suspended for an indefinite amount of time. What did you think of this whole thing?
Yeah, I feel like this is a real classic thing.
A wrestling trope.
Yeah, right. Like, how many times has this happened to Stone Cold Steve Austin? You know, and somehow he makes his way into there.
Yeah.
So I kind of was expecting something like this to happen after this point, but it totally plays into the story of how, you know, Britt Baker's this, you know, delicate flower, and she's being protected by security and whatnot. You know, very similar to how McMahon, you know, all the security and trying to keep Stone Cold away, that kind of idea. So I thought it was good for that story, and it was short, which it didn't need to be a long thing.
Right, for sure. I agree. I mean, it's nothing we haven't seen before, like you said. It's making sense with the story they're telling, and we'll just have to see where it goes from here.
Swole is just not a really good actress.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it seemed very planned and whatnot. Maybe if I had a criticism, that would be what it was.
She was trying really hard. She was trying too hard. It didn't come off natural. But
Yeah.
it is what it is. We'll talk about it again here in a little bit as we get a second part of the story. But let's move on to the next matchup of the night. This was Nyla Rose. She was going to be in action. She was going to have this big announcement. She's 2-on-1 handicap match versus Kilynn King and Kenzie Paige. I mean, pretty much what I had said. It was just going to be a jobber. You know, I didn't think it was going to be a handicap match, but definitely two jobbers coming out there. Pretty straightforward, you know, powerhouse against two jobbers kind of match. They never really got any offense in against Nyla Rose, and I like that she pins both of them at the same time. I thought was a nice touch to the end of the match. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the match was like it was just there because they needed a match, but it was really about the announcement.
Yeah, for sure.
So it was just, let's just get this out of the way. And what did you think about this announcement? Was it what you expected?
No, it wasn't at all, actually. I didn't think this is where it was going to go at all. Actually, I mean, we talked about it last week. I had no idea. I had no idea where they were going to go with this. Nyla, not the best MC out there. Her mic skills are definitely lacking. She used like 10 words where 5 would have done, you know, that kind of thing. Like, she repeated herself a lot in this promo. But I mean, the emphasis is that she hired herself a manager. It seems that everybody who's got a manager is a champion. And you know, she's getting on that bandwagon. Her manager is going to ensure that she's going to get her championship back. Was the whole premise of the promo. My question is like, who could this manager be? Is it someone already in AEW, or are they bringing in someone new?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like it needs to be a name. Like a veteran name, like a DDP or like someone big, right?
Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson. Those are kind of the names she gives off, right? Taz.
Yeah.
So,
because if it's just like, you know, Brad Alonso, no one's going to give a shit about
Robert Stone. Who the hell is Robert Stone? Figure it out, NXT. But yeah, I agree. I think it has to be somebody. But who could it be? Is it going to be a woman? Does it need to be a woman?
Do you agree with her statement about, you know, everybody who has a manager has a title?
Well, not everybody.
So she says Cody, right? That makes sense. Arn Anderson. But then she says Brian Cage.
Guy's not champion.
What championship does Brian Cage have?
He's got the internet championship. We just talked about this. Man.
I don't know. That'll be interesting. I don't know who it could be. And I almost feel like it needs to be a female. So what high name value former women's wrestler could this be?
I have no idea.
All right. Guys, if you have predictions, put them in the comments.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm going to think about that. We'll talk about it. Did we get when this is going to be revealed?
No, they just said later.
Just later, okay.
Just going to announce it later.
Just leave it open. Sure.
Leave it open. Yeah, I have no idea. I couldn't even think of a name. Maybe Awesome Kong. You know, she's probably done filming Glow by now, ready to come back. But she's, you know, you could argue she's coming to the end of her career, so maybe she puts the boots away and still involved with the show and does a manager thing. And I think two big powerhouse women like that would fit together. I mean, if you're not going to give me a list of possibilities and I just had to say somebody, I'm going to go with Awesome Kong.
Yeah.
But I have no idea. I
think it would have to be someone good on the mic as well.
Well, that leaves Awesome Kong out then. Damn it.
Would you think? Like, because if Nyla Rose is not that great on the mic, then I think you need that mouthpiece.
Right. Yeah, Arn Anderson doesn't have to be good on the mic because Cody's good on the mic.
Yeah.
Taz has to be good on the mic because Brian Cage sounds like Mike Tyson's younger sister. Anyways, moving on. Please don't hurt me with your FTW
hopefully he doesn't watch
championship.
the show.
The guy's not even a real champion. I ain't scared. All right. Moving on, we get a medical update from Colt Cabana, which was out of nowhere. You see the bruise that was on this guy?
Yeah, this was insane. So let's talk about your first statement here. Out of nowhere, like they're talking about some sort of
Backstage.
in the backstage. Do we see this? Did I miss something?
I did not see this at all.
Okay, so this is all made up.
This is all made up on the spot.
Okay.
But I'm having a hard time thinking about how could have Colt gotten this injury in the first place. I could see if he hurt himself in one of the other matches, like the match with the Brody Lee tag team match. If he hurt himself somehow during that match, that would cause this kind of bruising. Like, I'm almost wondering if this is all just makeup. Like, if this is 100% of work.
Right.
Not just making something up to, cover their tracks because he's got this crazy hematoma or whatever they called it. You know what I mean? Like, I think this might be a 100% work.
Yeah, so when this segment happened, my wife had just come home and her reaction was like, "Oh my God, is this real?" And because it's wrestling, I'm like, well, it's either makeup and it's a work, or it's really happened and now they're building it into the story.
Right. Both plausible.
Now what gets me with this one is on the TV when I'm watching it, it really looks like he has this lump.
Yeah.
Like a lot of swelling. Like, I don't know how you can fake that. The bruising, maybe you can fake with a lot of makeup, but that bump, like, I feel like it's real.
The more and more that I looked at it, I think it was just the top of his hip, but then it almost seemed too high. Like, how long is this guy's legs? So yeah, like, and he's a thicker guy, so that hip bone's probably not going to stick out like that. But I'm just having a hard time remembering where this could have happened, unless it happened in like just training. If he was just rolling around in the ring and just landed funny, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Either way,
and fell skateboarding or something.
Bring in Wolf Marshall. That was his name, right? Anyways, either way, he sold it well. The whole match, he was really nursing it. Anytime someone gave him a punch there, he like cringed really hard. So, I mean, props to Colt. If this is 100% work, I have a new respect for Colt Cabana.
Yeah, and I really like it with the story. So, yeah, if we talk about the match, Brody Lee basically says, like, even though you have this, like, we're going to get you through it. And that's what the Dark Order will provide to you. And sure enough, Colt Cabana and Dark Order win this one. And Brody does the thing he did. Was it last week? No, Dark last week, where he lets him get the pin.
Right. Yeah, Brody and
So,
Stu kind of do all the work in this match. Colt got on in there, a couple times and kind of did his shtick, and then he would start, wincing over the pain and get the other two back in. But they basically do the finishers. Brody hits the discus lariat, and Stu is about to pin him, and Brody stops and says, "Tag in Colt, let Colt get the pin," and 1, 2, 3, and Colt's feeling great about himself. So yeah, it's all story at that point, which makes me again lean towards that this might be work, 100% work, but yeah, it's all following the story.
I guess the other thing against it being a work is that they don't really need this for the story, do they?
No,
Like,
Colt
do they
doesn't.
need him injured.
No, they don't. I don't think they do. You very well still could have kept this up without it. Definitely.
Yeah. Man, Stu Grayson's a good wrestler.
Yeah, he
I
is.
like that guy.
He is really good.
I like that guy, and even did a good job of kind of acting like, what do you mean I'm not going to do the pin? Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
especially early.
and then
early in the whole segment, like when they come out, Stu has this look on his face, like, why does he get to stand beside you? Because he scooches him over or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And then Stu starts the match, and Brody, tagging Colt, like Colt have a turn. He's like, why? I'm kicking ass right now. You know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
Stu did a really good job of building, almost like a subplot where now there's tension that Colt's being preferred over, the originals almost. So
little jealousy. I mean, he was the number 2 guy, and now where is he?
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, interesting
like
stuff. Like you said, Colt Cabana, Brody Lee, and Stu Grayson get the win on that one. Let's move on to another segment. They're basically announcing what's going to be happening at Fight for the Fallen next week on Dynamite. We get an announcement that Cody will be defending the TNT Championship. We now know a couple days later that will be against Sonny Kiss. So we'll talk about that at the end of the show. We do have the AEW Championship match. Moxley versus the FTW. I can't even say it. The fake wrestling championship. Thing's fake. It's not real.
You can do better.
Yeah, I'll have one ready for next week. Brian Cage versus Mox.
I was looking up, like, what does this FTW like stand for, right? So I've heard in the past, for the win. That's kind of lame.
I think it's fuck the
But
world.
I like how somebody said it's what the fuck backwards. That makes more sense to me.
I think
in
with
this
the one plate having the middle finger, I think it's fuck the world.
Okay.
But
That's aggressive.
it's still fake. Anyways, Cody versus Sonny Kiss, Moxley versus Cage. We're going to have the Elite Young Bucks reuniting with Kenny Omega versus Jurassic Express. And the other one was going to be Lucha Brothers versus FTR in a straight-up tag match. So big things coming next week.
What's Vanilla going to book against this?
I don't know, but it's probably going to be another Dusty Rhodes, creation. So
Or
Starcade.
something like...
What?
or something to do with cars, like Pit Stop or...
The Brock flag.
Something like that.
Yeah. Missing Roadblock and Fastlane. Pit Stop. Pit Stop was never a thing. We just made that up.
Yeah.
From here, we go... we have another kind of outside of the ring segment with Britt Baker. Tony's reading off another one of her notes, and a hooded figure comes up to Britt and Reba and her security guard. Her security guard's got a daiquiri in his hand. He's fanning her with a towel. He ain't doing no security. I thought that was a clever little touch, but it ends up being swole, and she throws the papers in her face and whatnot. And there's, she's basically breaking her suspension, right? So, like, what did you think of the continuation of this little story?
Yeah, like I said earlier, this really plays into a story we've seen before, just kind of like a Stone Cold Steve Austin type of situation. But I like how this ends with Britt, something happening to her. It's not just a verbal confrontation. And then just calamity breaks out after all of this happens. What did you think about, like, after Britt gets hit in the nose?
It got off the rails.
You texted me and you're just like, what is going on?
Yeah, I had no idea what was going on. Like, it was just mayhem. It was unnecessary. If I had to, I like the fact that Sewell's suspended. She's barred. You didn't need to bring her back an hour later. This could have happened next week. You know what I mean? Yeah. Stretch it out. You have time. We have lots of time to build these. With Britt selling this knee injury, you have all the time in the world to make this, as elaborate and really build it as much as you want. But I feel like they took a step backwards by rushing this a little bit. And then, she throws the paper. Reba flings back and punches Britt in the face, and she's selling this broken nose. And everything just, all of a sudden, it's just screaming. It's just screaming and flailing, and it just got lost. I had no idea what they were doing. It was bad.
But my exact words were, "This is so stupid, it's good." Like, I was loving it. And if you watch it again, you see the doctor comes out and he's trying to talk to Britt,
right? And
she's like screaming into her hands, and then she takes her foot really slowly and pushes him away. Like,
really?
It's so funny. Yeah, I just thought it was so funny. I literally said the words, "This is so dumb, it's that good."
Oh.
It was just one of those moments. Yeah, I thought it was good. I really enjoyed it.
I mean, we have had a few of those "it's so dumb, it's good" moments with Britt, but I don't know. For me, this wasn't one of them. But whatever.
So just to sort of end this off, so Britt posts on Twitter. She has a busted nose, so she's got bandages all on her face, blood on the bandage, whatever. And then when Adam Cole loses the title,
right,
she tweeted that, this is a bad time for the household, a broken nose, and
it was a bad week for the Baker Cole residents.
Yeah.
So it's cool. She's blurring the lines. She's doing her work outside of the ring, that's for sure, which is always good. But, I don't know. I didn't get it. I think it was too soon. I think if this was next week, if it happened exactly the same way and it was next week, I would have enjoyed it more. But it was too soon for me. Anyways, we'll see how that all plays out. Let's get into the main event of the evening. The reason we were all watching Night 2, at least the reason I was watching Night 2. Orange Cassidy versus Le Champion, Chris Jericho. Now, it was late last week. It was like Friday or Saturday. It might have been Saturday during his Facebook Live show. Jericho mentions that his match with Orange Cassidy might be the best match of his career. The best thing he's ever done in the ring. So now I'm like, wow, that's putting a lot of weight onto this match. Like, it better be something spectacular. I would agree that it was spectacular. I don't know if it was the best in Chris Jericho's career. 45 minutes with Kenny Omega is pretty freaking great. 20 minutes with Orange Cassidy, that that caliber? I don't think so, but I mean, this was an awesome match. I was at the edge of my seat watching this match. I thought I had it a couple times. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah. I think I wonder if it's about what it represents. You know, because this is the first time that Orange is trying.
Right.
Like, he even publicly said, I'm gonna try.
Right.
But then we saw the true Orange, you know, somewhere kind of, you know, 60% into the match or whatever. Yeah, I didn't know where it was going at the end with the interrupts and the false finishes. Yeah, it was crazy.
There's
But definitely match of the night.
If the point of this match was to take Orange Cassidy from here to up here, they succeeded. Orange Cassidy is a made man now in professional wrestling. He just went 20 minutes with the GOAT. He held his own. He looked great doing it. And yeah, it's just like it was a great match. It was awesome. When Jericho hits that kind of, it wasn't really the Judas effect, but it was a back elbow, and then he does the lion salt, and Cassidy kicked out, I popped hard. I popped like the Hardy Boys returning at WrestleMania hard. Like, I popped. I must have screamed what? Like 5 times. I was like, what? What? I got this. I was so excited. And then Orange Cassidy hits a Superman punch, and oh man. I don't know. It was good. It was really, really good. I thought as the time was winding down, you know, it was getting closer to 9:00. Ortiz hits the orange juice in the face, and Aubrey's looking right at him. And I'm like, yeah, they're going to do the no DQ thing or the DQ thing. That way Jericho doesn't lose, but Cassidy wins. I would get my point. There were so many close calls there.
Yeah.
But it was really good. They did their job. I kind of agree with Jericho. This might have been one of the best things he's done in a wrestling ring.
Yeah, like I don't think it is necessarily from a wrestling perspective. It's the story and just all of it. Yeah, it was
this whole Jericho Cassidy feud. It's only been 4 weeks in the making, but I mean, it was kind of the thing to watch this last month. Ever since Orange Cassidy walked through the interview, and then
right.
Jericho calling out the baddest man in the planet, out comes Cassidy. And then you have Jericho beating up Cassidy with oranges. Then the next week you have the big brawl. Cassidy's earring gets ripped out. His ears all cut up and full of blood. Like, everything happened organically and was performed to perfection. You got to get Orange Cassidy in movies. We need an Orange Cassidy movie, I think.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Doesn't he like feel like he's a Saturday Night Live character or something?
You know, I feel like he's the antagonist to Daniel-san in Karate Kid. What's his name? Johnny?
Yeah.
He's
Johnny Lawrence. Johnny Lawrence.
Yeah. He looks exactly like him.
Yeah. And something happened, and it made me think, like, they need to get William Zabka to play this. What the hell was that? I can't remember. I'll think of it later. I'll text you. Okay. But yeah, definitely, like, if there was an Orange Cassidy biopic being made, William Zabka has to play Orange Cassidy, right? Like,
yeah, or one of his offspring.
Well, I'm sure William Zabka's a little bit older than Orange Cassidy.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, that guy's got to be like 50 something now, right? Anyways, yeah, great match. Jericho wins. Judas Effect. It went back and forth. The last 10 minutes of this match was back and forth, epic. Ever since, as soon as the orange juice is used and best friends come out and take Proud and Powerful out of the picture, like the match gets really, really good. Lots of false finishes. It was really, really entertaining. All right, well, I mean, we did it last week. I guess it's only fair we did it this week. We'll look at the results of the predictions. I don't even know what to say. I mean, I gave it away. But you can see up on the screen there, Private Party versus Mega Cowboys, unofficial tag team name for the champions. We both got that one right. Joey Janela and Lance Archer, we both got right. I had called that there might be a stipulation added where it'd be no DQ. That didn't pan out, so I didn't get any bonus points there. And then this was kind of the TSN turning point, was the Lucha Brothers Butcher and the Blade match versus FTR and Young Bucks. I went on this big spiel about how I think they could go, but I didn't really think they would go that way. This was actually your pick first, and you had picked FTR and the Young Bucks. But after my spiel, you're like, I feel like switching. I'm like, go ahead, you switch. And I think that was kind of, like I said, the TSN turning point. You get that one right. I got that one wrong. We both get Nyla Rose, points on Nyla Rose. We both get points on Colt Cabana, Brody Lee, and Stu Grayson winning. And then, yeah, I picked Orange Cassidy over Chris Jericho just to mix it up. I just had a weird feeling that, yeah, there might be some kind of weird DQ where Orange Cassidy technically would be the winner. That didn't pan out. You stuck with Jericho, and you get the 1 point win, 8-7.
Yeah, I mean, if I was going to win, I had to pick something different. But again, this just proves, with a 1 point win, I think the last couple have been, within two points, that we really see wrestling very similarly. And
for sure. Could
have went either way, really.
Well, I mean, Double or Nothing wasn't that close. It wasn't for a 4 point bonus that you actually caught up, but that's besides the point.
Wow.
I'm a little salty.
Okay. We're not going to have time to make predictions for Fight for the Fallen, because do we even know what the card is?
Well, I do.
We'll have to do a different show for that.
I do have the card here. We don't have to make predictions unless you want to do it really fast, but I can run through the card. I mentioned it earlier. We're going to have a TNT Championship match, Cody versus Sonny Kiss. We have the Elite, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks versus Jurassic Express. We have the Lucha Brothers versus FTR, and of course the AEW Championship match, Jon Moxley versus FTW Champion. I can't even say that. Like that, it just hurts me. Brian Cage. Moxley versus Brian Cage. Those are the 4 matches they announced. I gotta feel like there's gonna be a women's match added, like day of. But
yeah, like Penelope, Nyla Rose.
Just something to throw in there. Just to like, usually Dynamite is 5 matches. So I don't know. Do you just want to quickly run through some predictions? We don't have to go into great detail about what's wrong.
I have to go to the bathroom.
All right. So with that, we will close the show. Again, congratulations to you for getting the leg up on the Fight for the Fallen prediction, or the Fyter Fest predictions. When it actually comes to a real pay-per-view like All Out, we'll actually count it. But it was a good show. If you guys haven't checked out Fyter Fest, Nights 1 or Night 2, there's a lot of great cards on it. I suggest checking out NXT's Great American Bash. It looked like there were some great matches on that one too. And yeah, you got anything else to add?
If we're making predictions, it has to count.
All right. The score is 4-1.
That's only AEW.
That's only AEW.
Probably like it's like 20-1 if we do vanilla.
My best prediction was the Royal Rumble there a couple years ago. Becky Lynch loses to Asuka. Just during that match, I was like, if Becky Lynch loses, she's going to enter the Royal Rumble somehow and win it. Everybody was looking at me like, how did you know that? I'm like, they've done it before, man. Ric Flair, 1992. No, I'm just kidding. Great show. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave comments below on what your predictions were. Were you right about all the stuff that we said were right? Were you wrong? And what do you think is going to happen next week at Fight for the Fallen? We appreciate you all watching, and we'll catch you next week. Peace out, and go fuck yourself. Jason Corvette.